Hello viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're going to talk about a different kind of topic, microscopic photography. So let's dive right into it. Well, first you have to understand what the heck it is we are talking about. Well, our world, our universe that exists in, we have multiple layers of existence, so to say. So if you are talking about something really big, really huge, as in like galaxies, Milky Way, they have a different set of rules, regulations, and dark matter and dark energy, and some extra hoo-ha that we don't think about. Then we come to our world, basically human, walking, talking, bride photography, wedding photography, and all that jazz. That's a different world. But there is another world if you go close, but you don't go too close, because if you go too close, you end up in quantum world. That's completely hoo-ha, but hoo-ha as in like it's too complicated to understand. But then before that, before the quantum world, there is a world of microverse. Now this microverse is very small. However, our optical instruments can see that, so you do not need electron microscope to see it, but you can tangibly, reliably see it with normal optical systems, including some camera lenses. So we can see that. Now question becomes, why the heck you want to see that? Well, it's directly proportional to our health and ecosystem. You may not think about microbial life form because we know how to deal with it. We just blast our water supply with ultraviolet. That's one way of taking care of the situation. However, we still have to take care of our agriculture. Basically, if insects are eating it, we have to figure it out how those insects work. That's how pesticides are so fine-tuned. You do not want to just toxify everything, because again, that's the food that you are toxifying. So we have to understand this thing. These are not just like, okay, it's a luxury to do, it's something necessary to do. Then we come to another aspect. Let's say you are a photographer, budding photographer. What's the use of something like this? Basically, let's say you are a photographer. Well, there is a lot of science literature, be it from encyclopedia, be it to some other science journals and all that. They actually pay people to get quality photographs of microverse, be it insect based or something like that, and they pay pretty premium, basically a large amount of money, simply because there is not enough people out there. Like you type wedding photographer, you're gonna get 10,000 wedding photos. You type for let's say for people who are expert in taking insect photography, barely 10 people will show up. And not to mention, yeah, there is not enough demand for it, but there is enough that people do make a living out of it. It's not a zero sum game. It's something that people actually make living out of it. And then we come to museum exhibits, because while museums can actually curate and capture the insects and all that, to show them you have to print them large. And there is a dude who did it so mind-bogglingly good that people actually was like blown away, and his photographs are so high detail, so high resolution. They made it into a 3 meter by 3 meter photographs, and they were still more detailed. And it was on a different level. Basically, we do not see photography of that level, because while yes, you can see them under microscope, but you will only see a tiny sliver of it because of how optics works. You will only see a tiny sliver and on a small spot. But the photographs, once it's large printed to a whole wall size, it was mind-bogglingly awesome. I provided the video down below. I'm like, he put it to a whole different level. And there are many more fields, from material engineering to other things, including circuit boards, for example. That's also important nowadays. So there is a lot of use of it. So do not think of this as a just time pass. No, there is an actual need for it. Maybe not for you, maybe not suited for you, but there is a world for it. Like there is a completely different world of microscopic photography that people do and make a living out of it. Then we come to how the heck you actually photograph it. Well, one core principle that you have to understand is that the more macro you go, the shallower your depth of field becomes. Now, when I mean shallow depth of field, I simply means the area of focus shrinks to a razor thin margin. Basically, let's say if I say f2.8, you will know for a fact that a human face will be like, eye will be in focus, nose will be a little bit blurry. So basically, let's say this is the area of focus where you'll be like crystal clear. But the moment you start to go into macro photography, that area will shrink to micrometer. How big is a micrometer? Here your hair is around 70 micrometer. So basically a whole hair follicle will not be in focus, because it literally will blur out things. So for that reason, you need insane amount of light, and I mean truly insane amount of light. I experimented with the system, and I was just using macro tubes and all that, and I was trying to photograph a butterfly wing, and thankfully the technology did work, and I did manage to see the skeleton on which small pellets, basically leaf kind of structures are there. That's how butterfly wings are there. I actually saw that with my own photography equipment. However, to achieve that, I was utilizing LED bulbs that are more powerful to light up a whole room, and that was barely giving me any light. And the people who do this for professionally, they have flash guns that are focused on a pinpoint and just barely does it, barely. So you need YOLO amounts of light. Do not think like, oh, I can Apologies for that. I'm gonna do that with, like, outdoor sunlight. That's not enough. You need insane amount of light for this. Then we come to another aspect. Because your shallow depth of field is like micrometers, you have to stack them, because even like a small thing like a housefly, if you focus on its head, the tail will be out of focus. Yes, something that small, this will happen. For that reason, you generally take multiple stacks, or sometimes, like, close and far, and then you blend them, what we call photo stacking. That becomes necessary. And the dude I'm talking about, he did stacking on such a high level that his final photograph was so detailed, so high resolution, it was 4 gigabyte per file. So you have to understand, photo stacking becomes another important aspect. Now, how can you start in this? Like, let's say you want to figure it out. Let's say you want to just experiment with this and understand it. Macro tubes are a good starting point, but again, use YOLO amounts of light. And second, figure out how to stacking software. There are a lot of free software and a lot of paid options also. It can be done. And then some people will tell you, basically reverse the lens. However, that's no longer recommended on many modern lenses, simply because modern lenses are electrically driven. Like, for example, my 70-300 Canon lens, it's electrically driven to a point where the autofocus is not physically connected. Like, even if I put it in manual focus, I rotate something, it tells the computer to how much to focus. So it works, it's fast and efficient, but again, without electricity it will not work. So if I open it up and reverse it, I cannot focus it, I cannot control the aperture. So for that reason, generally it's recommended with older lenses, but modern lenses, it's very difficult. But it can be done if you are, like, persistent. It can be done, and there are some adapters that allows you to bypass the electrical connections also. That would be one way, if you do not want to invest a lot of money into, like, buying a dedicated microscope or something like that. And you have to understand this, the sole reason even normal micro lenses nowadays feel so awesome, like, when you have 1:1 magnification, is simply because our sensors are god tier right now. We are reaching a point where you can literally go and buy in a normal shop a 60 megapixel full frame camera. I'm like, let that sink in. 60 megapixel is something that you can buy. It's like, yeah, just go and buy normal thing. Yeah, just few years ago that was unheard of. So if you do 1:1 on a 60 megapixel sensor, there is more than enough amount of information there. However, again, that will not classify it as microscopic photography. Your photographs will be good, and you may be able to sell it also, but to really push it, you must exceed that. Like, that should be your starting point. It's like, okay, I'm starting from 1:1, then I'm gonna go for it. Do not rely on megapixels to save you. That's a inappropriate use of that situation. And I please provided the god tier guy. You can see that. And there was another guy before that, and he was doing this in 1980s and all that. So there is a lot of people who actually master this craft, and it's mind-boggling. The work they do, it's mind-boggling. I would urge you to see that. Then we come to, those are photography. Then we come to the videography. Now, videography is also catching on, and if you are familiar with YouTube, and you will be saying, like, way too many people have electronics channel, and way too many people are showing microscope. Why? Simple reason, electronics, it's becoming must, because SMD components are the future. Right now, basically, I'm trying to do basically first pro. All things are through holes. I'm puff board, everything goes through each other. That's how old electronics used to work. But right now, what we have, SMD, surface mounted devices. Consequence, they are ludicrously tiny, as in you need tweezers, and I need truly high quality tweezers to even to move them around, and you simply cannot work them if there is a freaking computer motherboard with, like, hundreds of components like that. You need a microscope. It's not a luxury. It's not like it's a nice to have. No, you have to have it. Otherwise, basically a repair job that will take, let's say, 30 minutes will take you 45 minutes or even few hours, and you will be having a hell of a headache after that. So it is becoming more and more important. So what kind of microscopes people buy? Well, ideally you want to buy something classified as multi-focal microscope, a Samuel focus micro. Basically, it's a stereo microscope. So reason for that, because when you are showing a microscope, buying a microscope for your kids and all that, they're gonna see things, and all they're gonna do is just look at it. So for that reason, stereoscopic vision is not necessary. However, when you are moving things, basically you are moving ICs, registers, chips, and LEDs, for that reason you have to see 3D. For that reason, this has generally two objectives. That's why these are so expensive. And for YouTube's, or let's say you are teaching a class where you're like, okay, this is how you do repair project, and this is how you're gonna see it. Then having an independent light system for basically your camera, because in cheaper ones, even if they have to, they will have a simple option. Hey, if you activate the camera, it will basically put a mirror in front of one of the eye, be it right eye, and it will, like, right eye light wouldn't be directly bouncing into camera. Your camera will work flawlessly, your left eye will work, but not both your eyes. So that's a very headache inducing. So generally try to go for something expensive. You can get surprisingly cheap one, surprisingly high quality one in Banggood. You can even get some quality options in Amazon's. However, those could be expensive. So be mindful, and thankfully these don't have electrical components, so if it works, it will keep working for decades and decades as long as you can lubricate it. So again, video is also becoming very and very important, and it's, if you have to figure out how to do actual electronics flat out, just for engineering student, let's say you're not even thinking about repairing it, just actual engineering basically, I'm not gonna be like, selling this, I have to make a PCB and all that. So if I try to reach that level, I have to figure out how these things work. So for this reason, this is a kind of important tool. It's no longer like, okay, it's a luxury piece. No, it's a tool. So this was my presentation, just a little overview of microscopic photography world. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I'd urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment, and please leave a comment because I try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.